בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה.
We have our questions and answers session today. Hopefully you guys have some questions that made it worth my time and agony to come here. Today wasn't an easy day, and since you could see it on my face, you don't have to ask the questions. So please, hopefully, you guys have some questions that are meaningful, that can Bezrat Hashem help Am Yisrael do tshuva. Today's shiur will be for a refuah shlema for Lima Esther Bat Tzipora, and also Ilui Nishmat Eliyahu Ben Frecha. Also for a refuah shlema for Yechiel Victor Ben Simcha. Just had a stroke, Shemir Hashem. Bezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu yivarech oto, ייתן לו רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש, רפואת הגוף. Also for אבי מורי, דוד בן עשריה, דוריס בת ג'ורה, לבנה בת שרה, שרה בת לבנה, יוכבת בת בתיה, אלישבע חיה בת שרה, and all of Am Yisrael Bezrat Hashem will have רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש, רפואת הגוף. So today I heard a story that from my Rav that I think puts things in perspective a little bit. One of the things that makes people immediately turn off from Judaism altogether, that's very common. I know it happened to me when I was younger. Now I don't care about it because I know that Judaism and Jews are not necessarily always the same thing. Where Jews are not always the best representatives of Judaism. But one of the main things that turns people off, that are not convinced of the truth, that are not pretty much without a shadow of a doubt convicted of that Hashem is emet, Torah is emet, and it's not a suggestion to follow it. It's simply a commandment. And if you follow it, good. You don't follow it, not good. How much not good? The worst that you could possibly imagine, times that by 1 billion, and that's just the beginning. How much good? The best that you could imagine, times that by 1 billion, and that's just the beginning. And that's generally how it works. Unfortunately today, most people don't know a lot of the details of what good means and what bad means. So I saw a rabbi in Eretz Yisrael a couple of years ago that had an interview, and they interviewed him because even though he's a rabbi and he looks like a very holy man, Shemir Hashem, all three of his kids that went to yeshiva, that grew up in Eretz Yisrael, all three kids went off the derech. But not off the derech like, okay, he's not in yeshiva anymore, he's working. No, off the derech like mamash 100% goyim. Tattoos, driving on Shabbat, everything. Like as if they never learned a single Gemara in their life, as if they never learned a single parasha in their life. Unfortunately, this neshira, this falling leaves is happening more and more. And there are two reasons for it that I can see. Number one is, like I just said, most people do not actually know the truth. Even if they go to yeshiva, even if they learn Torah their whole life, they still don't know the truth. And the reason why is because when you know the truth, it's no longer a matter of following or not following. Because following simply becomes a survival. It's not a matter of do I want to keep Shabbat, do I not want to keep Shabbat. It's a matter of do I want to die or do I want to live. That's it. Most people that are normal will pick life. They will look at Chilul Shabbat like it's committing suicide, no different. They would look at eating pork as committing suicide, no different. They would look at taking drugs with their friends as committing suicide, no different. They would look at averot like they're suicide. Not like, oh, this is not good, maybe Hashem is not going to be happy with me. No, if you mamash know, there's no question in your mind that the averot from the big to the small, are all literally spiritual suicide and could potentially be physical suicide. And when you make an avirah and you don't die, you have to thank Hashem 1.5 million times, because in reality you're living on borrowed time. That's really what it is. Most people, Rabotai, do not have that level of knowledge. Even if they go to yeshiva, even if they go to kollel, a lot of things. And part of the reason is because they weren't taught that way. They were taught Torah based on the intellectual aspect of it, that you could figure things out, and you could be like a mini Rashi, and you could be like the Rambam of your generation, and you could figure some things out. And a lot of people, they learn, but believe is something different. That's the first reason. The reason, Rabotai, if somebody wants to solve that problem, it's not too difficult anymore. And the reason why is because all of the information that you could possibly imagine, you can get it for free with a click of a button. You go on the internet, you go to our website, be'ezathashem.org, you go to Rabbi Mizrahi's website, divineinformation.com, you go to a few decent websites that have some serious information, like Ol Sameach, for example. All these websites that have an enormous amount of information, any question you ask, you have the answer. You have a video. You have a article about it. In reality, if you haven't found the truth, it's 100% your fault. Why? You didn't look for it. Because if you looked for it, you'd find it. You looked for a job, you found a job. Why? Because you looked for the job. You had a job, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have a lot of things. Why? Because you looked for them. Which means if you don't know the truth, that means you didn't look for it. And the sad excuse that people say, no, I studied in yeshiva for 20 years and you didn't study. You read books. You read books. Studying and reading books, two different things. Why? Because if you study Torah, it's impossible for you to arrive at a different conclusion. But that's usually a lesser of a reason of why people leave. That explains weaknesses. Why people are weak. Why people, as soon as you invite them to a Super Bowl party, even though they're Haredi, they'll come. You ask the rabbi, come to my wedding. What is it, mixed dancing? Yeah, but you could just come for the chuppah. Okay, but said I'll just come for the chuppah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not coming for the chuppah, but the rabbi sometimes comes for the chuppah. Why? He's afraid of what people think. That's weakness that people have. But it doesn't explain why people leave Judaism. Aside from the obvious sins and things of that nature, there is a specific sin that is very common. It actually happens every day, probably every second, unfortunately. And sometimes it seems like it happens more in the religious world than in the secular world. And for anyone that's thinking, you're probably thinking maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I'll tell you what it is. We'll save the time. Human decency. We lack human decency. We do not know how to be decent human beings. People simply care less about each other. They embarrass each other publicly as if it means absolutely nothing. They act like absolute animals. And the selfishness that people have in this generation is to such an extreme, you would literally think that people actually believe as much in themselves as they do in God. Meaning that they believe that they're in the world by themselves, like they run the show, with whatever they want. Care less about people, and they do things that show it. My Rav took his family out to breakfast this morning, and they had a coffee machine. And in the coffee machine, everybody makes these coffees, Nescafes and so on. And young girl, 14, 15-year-old girl, everybody's Haredi in the place. 14, 15-year-old girl comes to make coffee, and she presses the button, and the machine makes the noise, but it ran out of milk. And anyone that's familiar with those machines, that, if it runs out of milk, it still makes the sound, as if it's making something, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't ruin the machine or anything. It happens. It happens every hour. It runs out of milk, especially if you have a lot of people. So she presses the button, and it makes the sound, and it's not coming out. All of a sudden, the manager of the place sees this girl press the button, and it makes the sound, but there's no milk. And instead of saying what every normal human being should say when he's a manager of a restaurant, which is, oh, well, sorry, he doesn't have any milk, let me go get you, because that's my job. That's what a normal human being would do. What he decided to do is open up his sewer mouth and start yelling at this little girl at the top of his lungs to get away from the machine. What are you, stupid? You don't see it doesn't work? And rip this girl to shreds. Now the guy has a beard 3 times longer than mine. Kippah reaches the ceiling. Looks Haredi. But he just violated the Torah in a sin that says that Amalbin pnei chavero berabim en lo chelek le'olam haba. Someone that embarrasses another in public, if they don't do tshuva, they have no share of the world to come. What does no share of the world to come mean? As we've explained many times, and will continue to explain many times, it means the person goes to Gehenom forever and ever and ever and ever until the soul is completely destroyed. No share of the world to come means they will never ever enter Gan Eden, no matter how many mitzvot they're going to do. They could keep Shabbat 7 days a week. They could eat kosher water. They could learn Torah 24 hours a day. If they violated one of the rules that says they lose Olam Haba and they don't do tshuva for it, Rabotai, there's no mercy in Shamayim. Mercy is only here. And apparently people forget that, or don't believe it. We're not sure. Anyway, after this girl got embarrassed, some girls are tough. You yell at them, they yell at you back. Some are even tougher. You yell at them, they'll give you a nice righty or a lefty. Could be a kick, could be an arm. You're getting something. You're getting a present, you're going to remember her forever. But some girls are softer and more girly, which is more appropriate. And they get offended. And sometimes they get offended really quickly. And this girl was one of those. And the guy rips her to shreds, yells at her. 150 people watching this. She walks away. After mumbling a few things, she couldn't even speak. And she sits down and starts crying.
I heard that when someone acting like that, like this young girl, you have to run and ask her a bracha, because when someone is yelling at you and you don't move, you don't make a sound, you don't do anything, you have to...
We'll explain that in a second. So this is Torah says that if somebody gets embarrassed and they don't respond, then they get to a very high level of Kedusha, to the extent that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to be their chavruta, I'll learn Torah with them one-on-one. But this is only, not if they don't respond because they're in shock or because they don't know what to say, but rather, if they don't respond because everything that the person said to them doesn't bother them, because they know that it came from Hashem. Like David HaMelech, when Shimi ben Gera gave him a klala nimretzet. Klala nimretzet means every curse in the book. Nimretzet is an acronym for every curse. Noef, Mamzer, Rasha, and so on and so forth. And when Shimi ben Gera cursed them in front of everybody, David HaMelech didn't respond. And one of his soldiers, the general, wanted to kill Shimi ben Gera. He says, Master, why you let this dog curse you? Let me chop his head off. And David HaMelech did something that made him David HaMelech, which is, he says, no, chas v'shalom, don't touch him. He didn't curse me. Hashem did. Meaning, Hashem is the one that decided that I should be cursed. He wanted to curse me, so Hashem used him. Don't touch him. My problem, I have to do tshuva. So the point is, Rabotai, is that if a person is like David HaMelech, and they're not only quiet, but it doesn't bother them, then yes, they're at a very, very high level spiritually, and you should ask them for a bracha. They're considered like a malach Hashem. But if a person just cries quietly, or is angry and just keeps it inside, that's not the high level. It's better than fighting back, but it's definitely not the highest level, and it's not the ideal level. And this little girl, who could blame her? She's only 14. What do you possibly know other than eating and sleeping at 14 years old? What could you possibly know? 14 years old, she goes to sleep, she goes at the table, she starts crying, and Rabbi Chaim sees this. And then he shortly sees that her mom goes to the guy, this manager, Rasha, and says to him, you embarrassed my daughter. He goes, oh yeah, no, she had to see that the machine doesn't work. She goes, okay, she made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. You embarrassed the daughter. She goes, oh, okay, so I'm sorry. She goes, don't say I'm sorry to me, go say I'm sorry to her. She goes, no, walks away. He's too big for that, to say I'm sorry. So this bothered Rabbi Chaim. And Rabbi Chaim followed him. He went into the back, got him alone, he says, as soon as he saw Rabbi Chaim, he took a glass of water and did a bracha, as if he's a tzaddik. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh midor. He's doing a blessing on water. So Rabbi Chaim says, okay, so if you did a bracha on drinking water, obviously you believe in God. So it's not just looks. He goes, yeah, of course, we believe in God. Because you believe that there's a God, there's Olam Hazeh, there's Olam Haba. Yeah, of course I believe Olam Haba, yeah. Oh, okay. He goes, yeah, but he tells Rabbi Chaim, he goes, but I'm not worried about Olam Haba. I did everything. I learn here, I work, I give tzedakah, I'm good. I'm not worried at all about Olam Haba. I'm not afraid at all. The people that are supposed to be afraid are the ones that usually tend to be not afraid. The reason why David HaMelech went to Gan Eden was because he was afraid his whole life. The reason why the tzaddikim go to Gan Eden is because they are afraid their whole life. People that are not afraid, usually Gan Eden doesn't end up being the destination. But this guy says he's not afraid. And Rabbi Chaim says, well, do you believe in what the Gemara says, what David HaMelech said, which is the halacha in Shulchan Aruch? It's not a recommendation. That someone that embarrasses another Jew in public loses their share of the world to come if they don't do tshuva. You believe in that? And the guy looks at him like he has 5 heads. No, what? Yes. He goes, you just embarrassed that little girl. You should say I'm sorry. He goes, no. But you realize if you don't say I'm sorry, your Olam Haba is gone. You keep Shabbat till forever. You could brachot, everything. Everything that you're doing plus more, you don't do tshuva. You don't say I'm sorry to this girl in public. You have no share of the world to come. You know what the guy does? You would think, Rabbi came to him, said something to him. The mom came to him, said something to him. He sees the girl crying, said something to him. Any normal human being, what does he do? Says, okay, fine, no yalla, just to make you guys happy. Not even because I'm sorry. Just to make you guys leave me alone. That's what usually normal people do, at least. You know what this guy does? With all of his religious, with all of his beard, with all of everything, he goes,
Walk away.
That's it. Like, I lost Olam Haba. Meaning, either you're kufer gamur and you don't actually believe in Olam Haba. You don't believe in Olam Haba. Or you don't believe in the Torah itself, which means you don't have Olam Haba anyway. You don't believe in what Chazal says. You don't believe in the halachot. You just believe in whatever you do. Now, why do I tell you this story? I tell you this story is because this story happens every day. People mistreat each other regularly, embarrass each other regularly, steal from each other regularly, yell at each other regularly, mistreat each other in countless ways regularly. We gave a couple of examples yesterday in the shiur, and we are so far away from the truth that we don't even realize that we're doing it. And I can tell you that this is one of the most common excuses that someone that wants to sin, someone that doesn't want to do tshuva, someone that wants to get off the religion, or doesn't want to do tshuva in general, whatever it is, someone that's looking for an excuse, that is the number one reason why people say things against the Torah, things against the Jews. Why? Because they see the Jews that are expected to act better and holier than everybody else, act worse than everybody else. Usually you go to Beit Knesset, and there's a few kids there, but the ones that cause the most amount of noise, the most amount of disrespect, the most amount of filth are what? It's the rabbi's kids, or it's the religious kids. The secular kids that come once a year, they're usually quiet, they sit down next to Abba and Ima, and then they're fine. If they want to play, they go outside. But the religious kids, they cause the most amount of trouble. Why? Same thing that you see all these big scandals, whether it's all this filth that happens. Constantly you see religious people. You see people constantly desecrating HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. Which means that there's something missing here. There's something missing. We're supposed to use this Sefer Torah, this holy Sefer Torah, in order to do the will of Hashem. But for some reason, people think that doing the will of Hashem just means becoming robots. Praying by repeating some words that perhaps we don't even understand what they're saying, what we're saying. And two, doing a few mitzvot just because, it's part of what we're supposed to do. When it comes to fixing our character traits and treating each other like decent human beings, it's almost like a forgotten minhag. And that's one of the things that I can tell you from personal experience, is by far, from an outside perspective, is by far the most, the thing that you use as an excuse of why you don't want to be religious. Because you see religious people many times doing things that are just outright gross. Now, you could easily say, yeah, but a lot of secular people do things that are even grosser, even more disgusting. They're expected to do that. They were born in a jungle and they live in the jungle. They're not expected to be tzaddikim when they live in the secular world. When you pretend to be a religious Jew by putting a kippah, having a beard, a mitpachat, a skirt, and so on and so forth, you automatically are expected to act like a ish kadosh, a isha kadosha. Which means, when you do something wrong, it will be highlighted not just in Olam Haba, it will be highlighted in Olam Hazeh too. That's the responsibility of a Jew. So, it's important that we know that behavior is not something that is a recommendation. It's everything. It really is everything. And that's why I tell people all the time that learning Musar is one of the things that has to be a foundation of every Jewish person's life. If you don't learn Musar, you're never going to change as a human being. Even if you complete the entire Shas, even if you read the Tanakh 50 times, even if you do all the other things, all the wonderful things, if you don't learn Musar every day, you'll never change as a human being. And even if you learn Musar, it doesn't guarantee you'll change. Why? Because you have to actually apply what you learn. I know one guy that read over 40 or 45 Musar books, the best of the best books, but he hits his wife. Why? Because he read the books. Applying is a different story. So, with that being said, Rabotai, hopefully you have some decent questions and that will help all of Am Yisrael. Bechavod. Who wants to go first? Are you all on strike? Okay, give him the mic, please, somebody. Yes.
Is it a lack of tachon to be swimming in a lake with a constant fear that there's an alligator under you?
Is it allowed to swim in a lake?
No, not allowed. I said, is it a lack of bitachon?
Oh, lack of bitachon to swim in a lake and think that there's a alligator or something under you?
Yeah.
Is it a lack of bitachon? Why are you swimming? Why is a person swimming if he thinks there's an alligator there?
No, I went tubing the other day and I was swimming back to shore.
Oh. Okay, I mean that's the person has a fear of the unknown, which is a natural fear. The part of the reason of why people have this fear, one reason is lack of bitachon, because they forgot that it's not the alligator that kills or the snake that kills, it's the sin that kills. We learned from the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit, says that there was a big snake that was killing people left and right, and they went to Rabbi Hanina, and they told Rabbi Hanina, there's a snake. He says, oh, okay, no problem, just tell me where it is. Rabbi Hanina saw that people were dying, he stopped his learning, got up, and he told them, where, show me where it is. They showed him where it is. He goes, where? He goes, it's in that hole. Rabbi Hanina puts his leg inside the hole. Everybody's thinking that Rabbi Hanina is committing suicide here. A few moments later, Rabbi Hanina takes his leg out of the hole, and the snake has bitten Rabbi Hanina's leg, but the snake is dead. Not Rabbi Hanina. The snake died. The snake bit Rabbi Hanina, but the snake died. Takes out this huge snake. Everybody has no idea what happened. What is Rabbi Hanina's blood venomous? Rabbi Hanina says, from here we learn that it's not the snake that kills. It's the sin that kills. So when a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that rewards and punishes 100%, not just 50% or 60 or 70 or 80, they won't fear anything in the world, even something that's extremely scary, like not an imagination of a alligator, but a real alligator. So it doesn't mean that the person is a bad person or a sinner. It just means the person needs to work on their bitachon. The other aspect of it also is that there's a natural fear that people have of the unknown. And when you go in the ocean or you go into a pool and you don't really know what's under you, it's very common. And the reason why is because it usually means that that person has learned a lot about what's in the unknown, meaning you watch probably Discovery Channel shows, and it shows you all the alligators and the snakes and so on, what's going on underwater. So that adds to your imagination, because now you think that every water has the same alligator that you saw on TV or you saw on the internet, and every water has a shark, and every water has an anaconda, and every little thing, every mosquito has some killing disease. And that's part of the reason, is because we allowed our minds to go to those places and see those things and learn it from this, from the world, and now it adds to our imagination. To undo what we've already learned is not possible. The only thing that we can do is to learn more good stuff, and B'ezrat Hashem, that will overcome the other stuff. Yes.
But isn't it true that a person is not supposed to put himself in a dangerous situation? Like if you're thinking there could be an alligator in the water, aren't you not supposed to?
Well, usually a person doesn't go into water if he thinks there's an alligator in there. It's that usually the person goes into the water thinking that he wants to go into the water. But then he goes into the water and he realizes that he can't reach the bottom, and it's a little scary, so he thinks maybe there's an alligator, maybe there's an anaconda, maybe there's a monster, maybe Godzilla's here, who knows, it's dark, what's under me? And you start imagining things, because it's unknown, it's under you. You didn't think about it before you got into the water, but you thought about it after. It's the same thing like going in the ocean and swimming into, far out away from everybody else. In the beginning, for the first 5 seconds, if you're not a swimmer, it's cool. Wow, I'm far, yay, look at me. 5 seconds later, for fish that you would eat, not a shark, fish rubs against your leg, already you have half a heart attack. Half a heart attack. Why? Oh, it must be Jaws. It must be Jaws. And you have all the imagination. It's a little fish that you would eat for dinner, but it rubbed next to you, and automatically you're thinking the worst. Why? Because you don't know what's under you. You can't see it. And because you have an imagination, and that imagination could go to very, very far places, that's what happens. It creates a lot of fear. Next question. Again, give it to Michael.
So speaking of imaginations, in regards to Kol Isha, the prohibition of listening to a woman sing.
Okay, Kol Isha Erva.
So the Shulchan Aruch cites it, and I don't know where we hold in modern times with the, you hear a woman singing on the elevator. It used to be if you didn't know what she looked like, it was permissible. But now that we know what everyone looks like, what is the current standing on it? And also, where is the biblical prohibition against it?
Kol ha'isha erva, it comes from Lo taturu achrei levavchem ve'achrei einechem. You say it in Shema Yisrael every day. Don't follow what's in your heart. Don't follow what's in your eyes. So if you know when a guy listens to a woman sing, it's very different than when a woman listens to a guy sing. Woman looks at a guy sing, she's analyzing his voice. When a guy listens to a woman sing, he's analyzing her body. So that's just the reality of the nature of a man. So naturally, a man that's analyzing a woman, he's going to analyze her in inappropriate ways, and when she sings, that's a trigger. So the Gemara says in Masechet Sotah, and also a few other places, that the sound or the voice of a woman is considered nakedness. Kol ha'isha erva, meaning that when a man listens to a woman sing, it's as if he saw her naked. Why? Because in his imagination, it very much real that he sees her naked, and it's prohibited. It's prohibited 100%. To listen, for a man to listen to a woman sing is prohibited 100%. It's even worse if he knows what she looks like. If he doesn't know what she looks like, you could find certain poskim that give a leniency that it's not considered a sin. It's obviously not a mitzvah, but it's not a sin where that's going to lead him to have all these filthy thoughts because he doesn't know what she looks like. He still shouldn't listen to her sing, but needless to say, if he knows what she looks like, he's prohibited from listening to her sing under all conditions, even if it's happy birthday to him. If she's not his wife, he's not allowed. So that's the rule. Problem is that people don't like rules because they think that since she's married to somebody else, what's it to me? They don't realize that you're making a sin in your mind is worse than making a sin in reality. And the reason why is because when you make a sin in your mind, it stays there, and you've done it. You've committed the sin in the ideal, perfect way. There's nothing bad about it. It's perfect. It stays in your mind perfect, and you can make this sin repeatedly over and over again for the rest of your life. When you do something in actuality, it's not as good as what you thought it was more times than not, and there's no imagination anymore because you actually experienced it. Either way, both are not good, but the Chachamim say in the Gemara that the irur, the thoughts of an avera is worse than an avera. The thoughts of the imagination of avera is worse than an avera. Why? Because if you look at things that are inappropriate, you can make that sin endless times in endless ways. But if you've actually made it in reality, that's it. You don't imagine anything else because that's what you experienced. And that's the reason why people, when they fantasize, when they don't watch their eyes and they fantasize, they don't fantasize about their wives. They fantasize about somebody else's wife. They fantasize about somebody else's husband. That's what people fantasize on. Why? Because they know their husband. They know their wife. They had a reality of it. And that's all they could picture. They can't picture anything beyond. Whereas somebody else's wife, somebody else's husband, they're thinking, all the garbage in the world, all the filth in the world in their mind, and that's what makes it much, much worse. Next question.
If I may continue on that one.
Okay.
So I imagine the prohibition doesn't include one's own wife, like the same with Shomer Negiah and that one.
No, he's allowed to listen to his wife sing. It's not a problem listening to his wife sing. He's even allowed to look at his wife's clothes. But the Gemara says that he's not allowed to look at somebody else's clothes. Meaning that if you are walking around, and today it's not really common because America is rich, people in America are rich, but some neighborhoods in America, perhaps more so in Israel, people hang their clothes outside. to dry. Not everybody has a dryer. Over here, it's standard to have a washer or a dryer. It's not standard in poor neighborhoods or in different countries. So people, the way they would dry their clothes is after they wash them, they'd hang them outside. A man is forbidden from seeing a woman's clothes hanging outside if it's not his wife. It's forbidden from doing it. Why? Because if he sees the clothes hanging, he's going to imagine the woman in it. And it says, well, what about if he doesn't know the woman? That's even more so. Why? Because now he knows the clothes, and eventually he's going to see her and the clothes, and amevin yavin. Everybody understands what leads after that. So it's the Torah is very, very critical of people that do not watch their eyes, because that is the opening to all the sins in the world. All the filth in the world that a person can do starts with how they watch their eyes or how they don't watch their eyes. If they watch their eyes, they will not only be holy in regards to Kedusha, in regards to Brit and things of that nature, but they also won't be jealous, they also won't say Lashon Hara, they also will be much more honest, and so on and so forth. If a person watches their eyes and simply just minds their own business, automatically they become a much better human being. If they don't watch their eyes, it all depends on the level of how much they don't watch their eyes. Who wants to give a shiur, me or you? Next question. Try not to actually have outright conversations, guys. I understand whispering here and there is fine, but like the outright conversation is obnoxious. It's like almost like I'm not here. Trust me, I've been suffering for 18 hours straight to get here. 18 hours straight that I won't wish on my enemies. Please, have a little bit of decency. Next question. Yes, behind you, Shlomo. I like Shlomo's questions, but they don't come often enough. Chavod.
Is it like usher for a Jew in America to like vote Democrats?
To vote Democrat. That's an interesting question. There are some poskim that say you shouldn't vote at all. There are some poskim that say you shouldn't vote at all because both sides are reshaim. And we're not even talking about just America, we're talking about Israel also. Some poskim say you shouldn't vote at all. Why? Because both sides are reshaim, because they're not living a Torah life. It's not like the Democrats are going to help us build more yeshivot, or the Republicans are going to help us build more yeshivot. Both sides want a secular country. Same thing in Eretz Yisrael. It's not like the one side is better than the other. For the most part, almost all of them are reshaim, and even the ones that look religious sometimes are worse than the ones that are not religious, because at least they're not pretending. But the point is that it's a secular world. So some say, to the extreme, say don't vote at all. But some say you should at least try, based on logic of who and what and when, basically what you think would be more favorable for the nation, for the people, what would protect them. Now today, to vote Democrat would simply put a person in a position where they're helping the people that are causing more trouble for Am Yisrael than the other side. It doesn't mean that the Republicans are tzaddikim. Doesn't mean the Republicans are tzaddikim. It just means that the Republicans are just bigger reshaim. They're just bigger. They're creating much more problems. That's the lefty liberal type of mentality that are pro-homosexuality and homosexual parades and pro-abortion and all types of things that are anti-Torah and also anti-Israel. So to help those people by giving the vote obviously is not doesn't make much sense. At the same token, a person shouldn't feel like he's the most righteous person in the world by voting Democrat, because again, there's also problems on the other side. If you ask me my opinion, I think that all voting is a complete waste of time. It's not a matter of allowed or not allowed. You're allowed to vote. You could, it's not a problem, but I just think it's personally, I think it's a complete waste of time for two reasons. Number one, the rational reason of this world type of reason. It's rigged anyway. It's rigged anyway. Pretty much, that's really, I've lived long enough to see the system's rigged anyway. They already choose the winner before you even know he exists. When one party won, got the election, and said, no, for a month, they went back and forth until Bush won. How did Bush, but you said the other guy won. No, Bush won. But how? We're going to recount. Never in history was there a recount. But no, we wanted Bush to win, so Bush won. Same thing with a lot of other things that are very strange in politics, and it's also been proven. It's been proven that the system itself is manipulated. It's been proven it's manipulated. It's not like they changed the system. So number one, on a basic day-to-day logic, it's rigged anyway. Two, HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, which is the more important reason. If a person understands completely that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, and that everything that happens in the world is simply His will, and if bad things are happening to Am Yisrael like they are right now, anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in America. We've gotten to the point where America is starting to look more and more like Nazi Germany right before the Holocaust camps started becoming a law. There is acts of anti-Semitism almost daily. There's violence almost daily. Just another guy yesterday almost got killed in New York, and that's only a couple of days after somebody else almost got killed. And that's only about 2 weeks after somebody over here almost got killed, got shot up. And every other, it seems like almost every other day, there's an anti-Semitic attack. Many times it's physical, but constantly there's swastikas putting everywhere and all types of things. And then you see that the Jewish people's Christian Messiah, the Donald Trump, all of a sudden starts saying things that we don't like to hear so much. Well, he says any Jew that votes Democrat is either a traitor or something like that, or ungrateful or ignorant, whatever. He said something that people didn't like, and everybody was up in arms. Oh, how could Donald Trump say that? It's against Am Yisrael. His daughter is a Jew. Technically, he's right. If you vote the other side, you are. Why? Because this is the only side that's actually been favorable for Am Yisrael. But he's not wrong. But still, what's wrong here is that we're thinking that it's Donald Trump talking. That's what's wrong. We're thinking that it's Donald Trump that's saying that. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving us warning signs after warning signs, just like He did before the Holocaust. He gave us warning signs when Hitler went and got a position in the government, but it wasn't really important. And he was famous for being anti-Semitic. We got all types of warning signs before the Holocaust, but we ignored them. We ignored them, and we're ignoring it now again. The fact that Jews are being killed or beat up or abused and insulted on a regular basis is almost at a point where the sages told us, when asked, when do you leave America? When do you leave the country? When is Mashiach going to come? They said when they start killing Jews in the streets. When they start killing Jews in the streets like it's nothing, that's when you know Mashiach is coming, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. So the point is, whether Democrat, Republican, that doesn't really make a difference. What makes a difference is that if you pay attention to all the signs, all the things that are happening to Am Yisrael right now, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. People are getting killed. People are getting abused. People are getting insulted. I mean, you have people that are openly anti-Semitic. Openly, there's always been anti-Semitic Americans, but in politics, but never really open. Now you have a group of women that are openly anti-Semitic, openly favoring the terrorists. Never in a history has that happened. You have people in the Israeli government that are outright terrorists. Never has something like that actually happened. And there's so many things that are weird that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to give us all the signs possible to wake up and realize that it's not going to be Donald Trump that helps you. It's not going to be Bibi Netanyahu that helps you. It's only the Torah. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Torah. And if people that wake up and see it, they will be rewarded for it. People that don't will regret their life, just like, unfortunately, all the generations before them. Next question. For one of the things I could tell you, I'll try to stick around as much as I can before I lose the rest of my strength. A lot of people trusted the evil Nazis, not because they were gullible. People weren't stupid. People have always been smart. People have always been clever. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a mind. So how is it that the Nazi Germany did such horrors, and everybody denied it for so many years? No one wanted to believe that there's concentration camps where they're killing Jews just because they're Jews, and they're killing all types of other people just because they are something else. Nobody wanted to believe that. Even when they were shown pictures or they saw letters and things like that, everybody said, no, it can't be real, can't be real, can't be real. Until they saw it's real, nobody wanted to believe it's real. Why? Because of this. The Nazis were very, very cultured and civilized people. At least that's the way they looked. In fact, they were considered the most cultured and civilized people of their day. They had unique manners where they would say thank you for everything. And they would say hello and goodbye, and they would treat animals with a certain amount of respect that was unusual. Like the amount of respect that Hitler had for his dog was unusual. One time somebody pet his dog, and he saw that the dog didn't bite him, and he took offense to it. He didn't talk to the dog for a few weeks. Sick people. But to the outside, it looks like, wow, he's really connected to his dog. To stupid people, that's what it looks like. Now, one of the reasons because people admire secular knowledge, specifically when it comes to science. Now, there's a book called Doctors from Hell. Doctors from Hell. It was written by a woman that was a court reporter in the Nuremberg trials. The trials that took place after the Holocaust, all the war crimes. And she documented everything that was said. And a lot that was said, 90% of people don't know. Why? Because unless you read the stuff and study it, you're never going to know. So, in the beginning of the book, there's a forward and by a couple of interesting people, Eli Wiesel and Frederick Abrams. A couple of interesting people are writing some things. And it says that Dr. Frederick Abrams writes, I wish I could write that after the trials of Nuremberg, the lessons learned in international laws and codes that followed had put an end to genocide, torture, and experimentation on unconsenting human beings. But the laws and codes continue to be flouted. It is essential to revisit history as Vivian Spitz documented it. Vivian Spitz is the author of this book. We must remain aware that despite the veneer of civilization and the outward manifestation of culture and refinement, insidious, atavistic impulses remain in every country, and no nation has a monopoly on atrocity. In so many words, he's saying nothing changed. Just wants to look really intelligent with using some big words. There's good science and there's bad science, he says. In a sense of careful and accurate theory and experimentation. Facts have no dogma, and scientific fact-finding benefits society, but no science may be divorced from human context. In so many words, what he's saying is, if you lost your sense of humanity, don't be a doctor, don't be a scientist. Why? Because you'll end up becoming a murderer instead. Again, in different words, but that's what he's saying. Science and ideology are treacherous partners. When an ounce of science is mixed with a ton of zealotry, catastrophic results can be anticipated. This explosive mixture led to a disaster in German scientific activities of medical experimentation and eugenics research. what he's saying is that here you have the testimony of a bunch of German doctors that if you see them in pictures, they look like they're in a camp, having a good time, having a few drinks, dinner, they sing. You see pictures of these people, they look 100% normal. Better than normal. They look happy. But then you look at the behind the scenes of what these people did every day, and how they would take Jewish people and simply experiment on them without anesthesia. They would just start cutting them up just to see what would happen. That perform surgeries that were not necessary. And all types of vicious, awful things. In the name of science. Sadly, by the way, some of the best science books that come when it comes to the anatomy of the body are actually from Nazi Germany. Why? They were the only ones that were actually able to do these experiments. Nobody else was psychopath like them. So some people, even today, study their books, not because they agree with the Nazis, chas v'shalom, but rather because they actually have details about the human anatomy that nobody else has. But the type of test that they did was, I mean, you have to lose your sense of reality, your sense of humanity, and so on and so forth. But why is he mentioning? We have a whole book, I don't know, 300 pages that's going to tell us about all the experiments. Why is he telling us now? In essence, what Frederick Abrams is saying, Dr. Frederick Abrams is saying in the beginning of the book, is that I don't want you to really spend so much time being surprised at the treacherous events that happened in the past. Rather, I want you to know that all of it is still possible today. In fact, all of it is happening to some extent still today. In 1927, there was a famous case in America, a case by the name of Buck versus Bell, Supreme Court decision, where the state of Virginia decided that a woman by the name of Carrie Buck, who came from a mother that wasn't exactly a genius, and her herself wasn't exactly a genius, and she had a kid. And the state of Virginia said, 3 people that are stupid is already enough. So they forced Carrie Buck to be sterilized, meaning you're not allowed to have kids anymore. They gave her medication where she wasn't able to have kids anymore. And she didn't want, she wanted to have kids. Said, no, you're the wrong, you shouldn't reproduce, you're too stupid. Your mom is stupid, you're stupid, and most likely your kid's going to be stupid. The kid ended up being actually a pretty decent human being, normal, showing that they're wrong. But the point is that was the case. Now you all would think, wait a minute, are you crazy? Maybe if you're talking about Africa, yeah, they probably do it. China, they probably do it. Germany, Nazi, no, they do it in America. I said, okay, fine, they do it in America. This is 90 years ago, Rabbi. No, come on, talk nice about America. Don't say Lashon Hara. Reality is, Rabotai, this went to Supreme Court. In 1932, the justice, the judge, said 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. Meaning, he allowed the court to force this woman to become sterile. She cannot have any more kids. Now this, unfortunately, is still legal today in some states. As recently as 2003, we're not even talking about very long ago, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, there were reparations made to victims of compulsory sterilizations in North Carolina. In 1995, Mississippi's law was still there, meaning that the conviction in the rights of science are still very much there. Humanity, not so much. Which means that all of the horrors that happened in Nazi Germany, people keep saying never again, never again, never again. I'm sorry to tell you, that's one of the dumbest statements that there exists today. Because saying never again is not going to make it happen never again. It's just living a fantasy. We have to do something about it. What do? We have to find it. Why did it happen in the first place? And we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us why it happened. And He's also showing us different signs that it could happen again. There are different FEMA camps across the country, across the United States, with graves and body bags for tens of millions of people. This is not a conspiracy theory, this is reality. You could see this stuff on the internet. People say, why do you have entire huge acres of land full of body bags and graves, like you're expecting some type of nuclear war or Holocaust? Well, there's also camps with jail cells and so on, meaning it's made, it's ready. We're not saying it's going to happen. What we're saying is that to think that it can't happen is pure ignorance and stupidity. And it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to be ignorant today. Because as we see the people that lived through the Holocaust and witnessed what happened, they looked into the current law, looked into the current state of society, and they're telling you that nothing changed. Nothing changed. And anyone that learns, anyone that investigates will agree. No one's going to say that it's not possible. Only people that say it's not possible are people that are simply ignorant or too arrogant. So the point is, Rabotai, is that we're seeing that there are many, many indications that are happening around us that are showing us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, His message to all of the prophets was for Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Every prophet was given the same message. Tell Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Tell Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Tell Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Every message. Every prophet we had, that was the message that they were given. Now, every prophet did their job. They told Am Yisrael to do tshuva. Unfortunately, when Am Yisrael did not listen, Hashem gave them a bigger sign. They didn't listen, Hashem gave them a bigger sign. And eventually, He made a Holocaust happen. Not the Holocaust that you saw a few pictures of 80 years ago. We're talking about Holocaust 2,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 600 years ago, 900 years ago, there's been many Holocausts throughout history. The only one that you could see on video is the one that happened 80 years ago. But there's many Holocausts throughout history. And all of it comes after HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us signs. Once the decree is made, there's no Hashem taking it back. And that's why I plead with every one of you to take the things that you've learned over the last few months, or even just simply today, take them seriously. Because if you don't, one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be too late. The Holocaust would have already happened. And it's too late to fix it at that point. That's why, Rabotai, after 18 hours of agony, and I'm still in pain right now as I'm speaking to you, I'm here. Because I figured that if I'm not here, no one else is going to be here. And people are going to still continue living a dream, a fantasy, that everything is okay. I promise you it's not. And it's getting much, much worse. They're starting to kill Jews in the streets. We're running out of time. You're not going to be able to win a war. Everybody that has confidence in the Iron Dome or the Israeli army or the American army or whatever army you have, you're living a fantasy. The only war we can win is a spiritual war. It starts with independent wars, ourselves, each one does tshuva ourselves, and then it graduates to helping others. Help your friend, help your father, help your mom, help your cousin, help your stranger Jewish friend, Jewish neighbor. Whoever it is, help each other. This, Rabotai, is what's happening today. If you take things, what Kadosh Baruch Hu said seriously, he said there's a bracha in klala. You take it seriously, no matter what happens, no matter what war happens, you'll be protected. Why? Because the next war is the last one. Gog Magog has 3 parts. We already had the first 2, the next one is the last one. People that do tshuva before it will be okay. People that don't, people that focus on playing basketball and making sure that every shot that leaves their hands goes into the hoop, and making sure that their sneakers are tied really nicely, and making sure that their kippah is nice and tight, and making sure all of these material nonsensical things that people do, they make sure that everything else is done right except the Retzon Hashem, the will of Hashem. Those people, you might as well already say Kaddish on them now, because there won't be another chance to do tshuva. This is not a scare tactic, it's just simply what Torah says. I'm not scaring anyone, I'm just trying to warn you. And this is because people are not taking Kadosh Baruch Hu seriously, so the signs are getting worse. To me, it's as clear as day. But that's because I'm in it all day. I deal with people all day. I see how much people are suffering constantly. Divorces are more common than getting married. People going off the derech is almost as much as people getting on the derech. People getting off drugs is nowhere near as much as people getting on drugs. There are a lot more people that hate Jews openly today than any other time in history in America. A few years ago when I started this, they did a statistic, and they came up with 42% of Americans admit to being anti-Semitic. 42%. 42% sounds like, oh well, at least we have the majority. Only a stupid person says that. Because 42% means there's 160 million people that you live next door to that say that they hate you. Why? Because you're Jewish. That's it. They don't know you. They never saw you. You're Jewish, we hate you. But that was a few years ago. Today, it's much, much higher. It's definitely not a minority anymore. It's not their fault. Don't blame the goyim for hating you. Don't even hate the goyim. It's a waste of time. That's what they're programmed to do. Esav soneh Yaakov. That's an halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Esav was programmed to hate Yaakov. Why? To eliminate part of the tbolelut, of the intermarriage. Because right now there's so much intermarriage, even though so many of them hate us. Imagine if they liked us. There wouldn't be a nation left. So Esav hates Yaakov. That's what he's programmed to do. To hate Esav is a waste of time. You should ask, what can I do about it to protect myself against Esav? And there's only one thing. Do tshuva. I don't care if you keep Shabbat or not. I don't care if you put tefillin on. I don't care if you learn here and there. Doing tshuva is a life decision. It's not just keeping Shabbat. It's not just learning a little bit. It's not just showing up to the class and looking at the clock the whole time because you can't wait for an hour to be over so you could jet out of here and get $15 for coming. If you're still coming for the money, I tell you, don't come. If you've been coming for 3-4 months, you're still coming for $15, do yourself a favor, don't come. Why? You already got the word Gzirah in Shamayim. If you're still coming only for money, that means that Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want your tshuva. Why? Because you still don't get the point after 4 months. After 4 months, you still don't get the point. You have to keep Shabbat. Nothing's going to help you. Definitely not me. The fact that the $15 is cool, it's nice to get $15, no problem. Enjoy, kapara alecha, I love you guys. I'll give you 1,000 if I could. That's not the point. I don't care about the money. But if you're only coming because you like the money and you like the food that the girls toil over and mamash to get you guys 5-course meal, if that's the reason why you're coming, don't come. Why? It's very likely that you already have too much. You're too far, too gone. 4 months, shiur, every 3 times a week you get it on the head. The hardest shiur in America. The dead already started being resurrected. The walls are doing tshuva already from the shiurim that we did here. You're still coming for $15 only? You shouldn't come anymore. Why? You're probably spiritually dead. I met a few people like that. Nothing can help them other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Problem is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't talk to us in the same language I talk. HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to us in Zaptot. You know what Zaptot are? Zaptot are righties and lefties. Rabotai, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart. If I had any fluid left in my body, I'd start crying to you. You're running out of time to do tshuva. You're running out of time. They're killing Jews in the streets. It's not a joke. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. This comfort zone, all these Floridians living in high-risers, Shem Yachem. People are walking around with a kippah and talit to the Knesset, but their wife is wearing a mini skirt and a gufiyah and a tank top. Going to the Knesset. Feel perfectly fine. What are you doing for the Chagim? I don't know, buy some clothes for you maybe? People are living an illusion. 2 synagogues next to my house kicked out their rabbis. Never heard of such a thing. A keilah kicks out the rabbi. You would think, okay, if the rabbi was a rapist, a murderer, a thief, okay, kick him out. Bechavod. No, they kicked him out because they don't want a rabbi. Simple. They don't want a rabbi. Do you know how many shuls? I think Florida has more shuls with no rabbi than rabbis. Why? Everybody wants to be a rabbi now. Nobody wants to do tshuva, but everybody wants to be a rabbi. Your parents are not going to help you. Only you can help you. The Gemara in Masechet Sotah, page 49b, says the generation before Mashiach will be a unique generation. It's going to be the only generation in history where the children help the parents do tshuva. Throughout all of history of Am Yisrael, 3,300 years, we have something called a masoret. A masoret means that we've learned everything from our parents, and our parents learn it from our grandparents, and the grandparents learn it from their grandparents, and so on and so forth, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu. You learn it from your rabbi learned it from his rabbi, the rabbi learned from that rabbi, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu. Meaning that we always depended on the previous generation. But the generation before Mashiach is going to be unique. It's not going to be the same way. It's going to be the opposite. It'll be the young kids, the 15-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, the 20-year-olds that do serious tshuva and help their parents. That's the only way. Why? It's an upside-down world. Which means that your tshuva is not just going to save you. It's going to save everybody that you know and care about. If you don't do tshuva, it means also everybody that you know and you care about. And that's why I tell you this time and time again. Please, take the time to double check everything that I say. Everything that I say, Baruch Hashem, all of the shiurim are on the internet. You could press stop, you could press play. If you didn't hear it, you heard a page, write it down, go look in a book, double check in a book, and you'll find it. Meaning, you can double check and confirm everything that I say. And you'll see that it's not me saying it, it's just me repeating it. And if what I say, or what I'm repeating, is true, that means that if we don't do tshuva, saying that we're in trouble is an understatement. And all of these Erev Rav that call themselves rabbis over here, whether it's here or it's in Montana or it's in New York or wherever it is, if they're telling you something that's the opposite, double check them too. Double check them too. Why? Because you'll see that what they say have no source. I'll finish with this. Unless you guys have real questions, I'll finish with this. Young guy comes to me recently. Add him to the groups. Anyone that wants to be added to the WhatsApp groups should send a text message to 1917-468-2324. You'll get a daily update of what we're doing as far as shiurim, plus short clips and the shiurim that we actually have, the links and so on. We have a bunch of WhatsApp groups every day. There's new information that goes in there. And Baruch Hashem, they help a lot of people. Now, people send me messages every day to join this WhatsApp groups. We send them a questionnaire to make sure they're not Christian missionaries. After they answer the questions in an acceptable way, we add them to the groups. If they are not answering in an acceptable way, they go on a block list. And there's, Baruch Hashem, some of both. Point is that it's a way for a person to have access to Torah constantly. Now, somebody sent me a message recently, and he answered the questions, and one of the questions are you Jewish? Or are you Muslim? Or are you Christian? And yes, we are racist. We are. We don't deny it. We are racist. Why? We cater to Jews, or to people that want to be Jews, or people that love Jews. If you fit one of those descriptions, we'll help you. But if you're not Jewish, you don't want to be Jewish, and you hate and you don't like Jews, we don't want you. Now, by liking Jews doesn't mean that you have an Israeli flag in your house and you want to be missionize them to Christianity. Liking Jews meaning you want to help Jews become more religious Jews. That's what liking Jews means. Now, if somebody is that, good. Not, no good. Somebody sends me a message some time ago and says, I want to join the group. And I tell them, no problem. I add them to the group after they answer the questions. And I tell them, listen, if you have any issues, any personal stuff, you could always send me a personal text. And I try to answer whenever I can. Sometimes I answer right away because I'm right in front of the screen. And sometimes it takes me a day or two because I have 400 messages before you. But either way, at one point I answer. Anyway, the guy and I start talking for a little while, and eventually he tells me that, I'm trying to help my mom keep Shabbat, and she needs, she needs a little guidance and so on. It just makes me, makes me concerned how they're going to treat my conversion, my mom's conversion. I said, wait, hold on a second. I thought he was Jewish. I said, what do you mean your mom's conversion? Oh, she converted. I said, when she convert? Long time ago. Before I was he was a baby, before he was born or something like that. So I said, was it conservative or reform? Because no, it was Orthodox. It's Orthodox conversion. I said, wait, so can you show me a certificate? He showed me a certificate. Orthodox conversion. It's an Orthodox rabbi. Not recognized by the state of Israel, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just not recognized. If they go take that to Eretz Yisrael, they'll just use it as toilet paper. But, as far as to being a Jew or not, halachically follow the law. At least on the surface of things. So I said, okay, so how long hasn't your mom been keeping Shabbat? Just started in the last year. She got off the derech the last couple of years. I mean, this conversion is 25 years ago. So she stopped keeping in the last few years? And he drops a bomb on me. He says, no, she never kept Shabbat. She never kept mitzvot. So now I have to drop a bomb on him. And I don't like to drop bombs that hurt people's feelings. I really don't. I like scaring people because that wakes them up usually. But hurting their feelings, I don't like. Why? It's not fun. But unfortunately, somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do the dirty work. And I had to let this guy know, as nice as he is, as interested as he is, as wonderful as he has to put his plans on doing Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael on hold. Why? You're not Jewish. What do you mean? I've been Jewish my whole life. In your mind, you're Jewish. If the woman did not comply with the conversion rules, you are not Jewish. What's the conversion rules? At the time of conversion, you're not obligated to know all the laws. That everybody knows you're not going to know. But you're obligated to accept all the ones you know. If you know that you have to keep Shabbat, you have to keep modesty, you have to keep kashrut, you have to keep such and such, and you simply don't want to do it, guess what? Your conversion is null and void. It's worth zero. Nothing. What about the son? No, it's a nice non-Jewish son. No, but he thinks he's Jewish. Okay, so a lot of people think things. I have a few people that think they're Mashiach every week. Does that mean they're Mashiach? I have some guys that think they're girls, some girls think they're guys. One guy told me that he thinks he's a dolphin. Does it mean he's a dolphin? No, people think stuff. People think stuff. It doesn't mean anything. But that's a reality. That's a reality. We live in a world today where Judaism is under attack. It's under attack by Christianity. It's under attack even by Judaism itself. Self-hating Jews and fake Jews, fake religious Jews, are destroying the religion. Now, what made it all worse is that the current rabbi that he has, not the conversion rabbi. The conversion rabbi, I don't know, maybe he's in Gehenom already. I'm not really sure where he is. But some new rabbi tells him, no, you're Jewish. He tells the guy he's Jewish. I tell him, listen. So I gave him, Baruch Hashem, I made him a, 8-9 minute recording, gave him a bunch of halachot and sources. I tell him, okay, either this rabbi is just that's telling you that you're Jewish is just a idiot. He doesn't know anything. And he just calls himself a rabbi because he likes the title, just like some people like to, put PhD after their name, even though they never went to school. Because they like people to think that they're PhDs. Either he's that, or he's a liar. And he wants your money, or he wants you to pretty much feel good about yourself. So, Rabotai, there's no shortcut to Judaism. There's no shortcut to tshuva. I really, really hope that the last few months, you guys are taking it to heart, and today you're going to take it to the next level. Whatever you're doing, do more. Whatever you're doing, chazaku baruch, chazaka ubucha. You took on some more modesty, do more. You took on Shabbat, do more. You took on a little learning, do more. Why? You're not going to have that much more time to fiddle around and beat around the bush and play it safe. Half secular, half religious. Forget about what your parents are doing. I don't care whether they're religious or they're not religious. It doesn't make a difference. My grandfather's also Avraham Avinu. It's not going to help me in Shemaim. Everybody's grandparents are tzaddikim. It's not going to help you in Shemaim. Only thing that's going to help you is what you're going to do in your life. Everybody's going to take their life in their own hands. The situation is getting disgusting. Literally, you're seeing rabbis turning upside down, the goyim turning upside up, and the whole world is boiling. The explosion is going to come. I don't know if it's going to be a month from now, it's going to be a year from now, whenever it's going to be. But it's not going to get better, I promise you that. We're on the verge of a major recession to the point of a Great Depression as far as economy. So all these people that are pretending to be rich, they're just on borrowed time. Everybody that has money is on borrowed time. Everybody's going to lose money. The next recession that happens is going to make the one that I experienced in 2007 like child's play. Everything's going to explode. The market's going to explode. The currency is going to explode. There's also going to be a major war. War already began. Iran already started shooting against Eretz Israel. For anyone that's sleeping under a rock. The war already started. The economic war also started. China and America are not best friends right now. This is not a game of chicken. This is Gog and Magog in the making. So, it's time everybody wakes up. You don't want to wake up? I only ask you one thing. Don't say you weren't told. Don't go up to Shamayim, and when they ask you, how come you didn't do this, this, and that? How come you didn't learn Torah every day? How come you didn't pay attention in the shiur? How come you were still playing with the phone on Shabbat? How come? Don't say, oh, I didn't know. Because then you get more punished. Why? Because you did know. You were told. So please, I beg you. We literally have spent every penny just to help you guys discover the truth. One person used her entire life savings just to get you guys to come. We're begging, borrowing, and stealing every week just to get people to donate, to get you guys to do tshuva. The guys here, the girls here, and the people online that are watching it. Baruch Hashem, there's thousands watching it online. We're doing everything possible to get you guys to do tshuva. It really would be a shame for people that watch the shiur every week, once a week or 3 times a week, and still don't know how to dress modestly by the time the Mashiach comes. It really would be sad to have somebody that watched the shiurim and still doesn't know that he's supposed to keep Shabbat once the Mashiach comes. It would be sad. Why? Because then it's a double failure. Then it's a double failure. So, please, take this stuff seriously. You want to double check everything we said? Double check, no problem. You have questions? Ask questions. That's what we have this shiur. But don't continue beating around the bush and just, playing around and playing half secular, half religious life. Like some people that send me messages, I have to delete the message right away. Why? Because they have a picture. And the picture is of a woman that's not modest. So I'm sorry, I cannot answer a message until you wear clothes. Or don't have a picture. Some people watch the shiur twice, 3 times a week. Still, I'd say modesty at least once every shiur. Shabbat at least once every shiur. There's some people watching the shiur right now, still don't know how to put clothes on. Still think it's okay to put pictures on the internet with tank tops. Still do a lot of things on Shabbat you're not allowed to do. For some reason, people think that I have this mind that creates rules just to put a burden on people. Double check everything. I promise you it's all true. Take it seriously, do tshuva, and I promise you that by you doing tshuva, not only are you going to be rewarding yourself in this world, but you'll see that eventually all of the hurdles, all of the obstacles that you had, even if it was your own family, that told you don't do tshuva, but you went against them, and you did tshuva, eventually that very same family is going to ask you for a blessing. They're going to ask you, what's your secret? How did you stay so strong and get so close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu while the rest of us are getting further? And they're going to ask you for help. Please take it seriously. If you have questions, I'll answer 1 or 2, but otherwise I have to go. Anything? Yes?
How can we start preparing for the month of Elul and start with the Rosh Hashanah?
Keep coming to the shurim, you'll find out. Keep coming to the shurim. Tshuva is something you do every day. During the month of Elul, you pick up a notch, which is what I just discussed with you guys now. Whatever you're doing, do more. I don't know what you all do, but whatever you're doing, you need to do more. How do I know? You're still alive. If you're still alive, there's a lot more to do. If you were perfect, you'd already be with Moshe Rabbeinu in Olam Haba. I have to do more, you have to do more, everybody has to do more. Part of the reason is because we have to fix ourselves, and the other part is because we have to make up for all of these other sinners in the world that are not doing anything. We have to help them. We have to help them. We have to increase the Kedusha in the world. Anything else?
Just on top of what you said, Yosef Mizrahi, you have a great lecture.
Ken, I have a bunch of them. You could just type my name on YouTube, Yaron Reuven, Elul, you'll have 5 lectures about it. But every year, we bring new stuff. So Bezat Hashem, we'll talk more in detail about it at that time.
Last one.
Yes.
Last time when we spoke about the converts, the big converts, David HaMelech and Rabbi Akiva,
Ken.
how did, what reason does the Malach HaMavet have to be able to hold certain souls hostage?
Because they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of potential. They have to have just as much resistance. The Kadosh Baruch Hu created everything with an opposite pressure. The more potential, the more negativity it has to get it to the other side. So each one that became a big tzaddik also could have become Hitler. Each one that was Hitler could have also become a big tzaddik. Beseder Rabotai, I'm sorry, I'm just in too much pain, I can't continue. But I hope you take everything that I said seriously. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.